going to call the meeting to order, the July 25th meeting of the Historic Preservation Commission. Just to remind everybody that the purpose of the commission is to approve certificates of appropriateness for new construction or major work, and to do so by conducting hearings and findings of fact when applications come before us. Our mission is to take no action except to preserve and approve that which is congruous with the special character of the Village of Pinehurst Historic District. I'm Molly Gwynn. On my left is Terry Lertz, Jim McChesney, and Tom Schroeder. And on my right, Eric Von Saltzen, John Taylor, and Alex Cameron, Senior Planner. Our Director of Planning and Inspections, Darren Burrich, is here as well. And Alex has a new assistant to introduce.
Thank you for the introduction, Molly. And some of you HPC members haven't yet been formally introduced to our new Planning and Inspections Administrative Assistant. So she's going to be the one who's going to be showing up at the meetings, keeping track of our minutes and getting various documents for you guys. And her name is Kelly Brown, and we're excited to have her.
Welcome. Good to see you. This is a quorum, so we can proceed with our business. As a quasi-judicial hearing, anyone desiring to testify must be sworn in, and we are required to consider only facts presented in this hearing. The proceedings are video recorded. The first order of business today is to approve the minutes. Is there any discussion about the minutes? Any amendments or corrections to the minutes of the June 27th meeting?
I move to accept the minutes of the June 27th meeting.
Second.
Tom Schroeder made a motion to accept, and Terry Lertz seconded the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. The next order of business will be our first case, COA 19-057, and Alex Cameron will present the material. I first need to swear Alex in. Do you affirm that the testimony you shall give to the commission shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
The purpose of this public hearing is to consider a request within the Pinehurst Historic District to renovate the front building facade at 20 Medlin Road. The property can be identified as Moore County Parcel ID number 000028752. The applicant and the property owner is Lee Manzo, and at this point I would like to enter the materials into the record that are included within your packet. The application, there's some photos, a proposed elevation, a colored rendering, the map, and also the draft findings of fact.
Anything more to add?
We've noticed that there may be a discrepancy with the application and whether or not the existing and proposed materials are correct, so we would like the applicant to be able to speak to that if possible, please.
Okay, is Lee here? Would you come forward? And I'll need to swear you in as well. And you may stand or sit, your choice. Okay. Do you affirm that the testimony you shall give to the commission shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
Need to speak into the microphone, please.
Yes.
Thank you.
So, does anyone have questions or, well, first of all, is there anything that you can add to the application materials that you gave to us?
And I've never done this before, so I'm not quite sure of exactly the details, but some of it seems like some decisions that will be made as they progress, but I don't, like I said, I've never had to give such detail to changes I was making. Basically, we wanted to maintain the materials that are there. There's a metal roofing that would be, I think that was in question, and that I spoke to the architect, and he told me that that would be black. He gave more details, but and I don't know my construction materials, but it would be black. The color on the house would stay pretty similar to what it is. It's not, it's a light gray right now. Um, I know I have shingles right now. I was talking to the builder to give me a price on possibly like a hardy board, but I don't know I don't know what the cost differential is on that, so at this point, the shingles are what's depicted in the drawings, and at this point, that's the intention.
So you're saying the color and the material will remain the same?
Yes.
Is the addition going to intrude into the driveway?
No, my house was built in 1953, I believe, and it is already non-compliant because it just aged in. And it would not exceed any of the, it's not protruding anymore in any direction. It's just to put a front roof over and a small porch on the house, but staying within the side. Currently, the steps come out towards the street, and the rendition, it has the steps going to the driveway, but not intruding on the driveway.
Molly, I've got a real problem with the way the drawings are.
Okay, okay.
Maybe you could explain that to us if we bring the drawing to you.
Or let's bring the drawing up on the screen so
Maybe that's-
everybody can look at it.
And
Beth, can you get us to the page?
while we're waiting on that, I also have
Okay.
some concerns about, still have concerns about materials as well as things on the drawing as well.
So Terry, what was,
This may be different than what I have.
so that's the,
Oh, We'll go back one, there. Now, look at the top drawing. That's the proposal, not existing, right?
So that's
I'm sorry.
modified.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that they went out that little bit.
But-
There's currently some bushes there that
But
I guess
but also look at the next drawing, the modified left side. Isn't that modified right side? Looking at it from the street?
If I'm looking at it from the street, no. No?
well,
I'm trying to think, there's a window.
Okay.
No, that's.
Okay, that's fine, but it's not existing, right? The first drawing is proposed, not existing.
That might be mislabeled there. I'm sorry, I guess it is. Currently, there's just well, you can see from the original picture where the door, I was swapping basically where a window is and where the door is. I was just, wanted to, here you could, with the two windows on the right-hand side of that drawing and the front door were sort of being swapped, changing the entrance of the house.
I think that the drawing should have been labeled modified as the other ones on that page are, but that one is not. It says
Exactly.
existing.
Yes,
exactly.
it is mislabeled.
It's mislabeled, yeah. But I think otherwise it's correct because the right side is your driveway side, and that's where your deck is in back.
Oh,
Yeah, the right side is the driveway side, and that's where your deck is in
no,
back,
what's the,
facing the house.
Yeah, I'm trying, facing the house. Can we go back to those drawings? Okay. That is the left side. Okay, yes, those, I agree with that is the way the house looks on the side, other than the porch piece, left and right. I thought they might have been reversed. Right now, the left side faces a bunch of brush, and the right side is the driveway side.
I'm so confused, I can't figure out which end is up on this thing because.
Well, I think what's confusing is that she shifted her, just looking at the front-facing facade, you have shifted your windows to the left, and you've added, your new front door is on the right.
Can I get a picture I have in my, I've got it in my envelope.
Well, we also have it on the screen,
No, it's
a different one, okay. But that's, I think, one of the confusions, is that she's just relocated that front door to the right side.
And I'm not arguing any of that, if that's what she's testifying to. My concern is that we need a written record of what this is, and this set of drawings does not provide any form of written record to apply to that. I mean, when this is all done and said, it has to be given to...
We've got the pictures, yes.
Yeah, and so
We have
Beth,
that.
do you
The
have
problem
this?
is with the drawings. Well, not just been mislabeled, but I can show you right here.
Find it?
Here's the modified left side. Here's the existing left side. How did the chimney get over here from here? If this is the left side and this is the left side, the drawings don't agree.
Oh,
They can't, they're just,
This is these two are reversed. This is the left side and this is the right side.
well, that's his point, that these drawings are not correct.
The label is incorrect, the drawings are correct.
Ma'am, we can't prove this.
We have to have written proof. When this is all done, it's going to go to the planning department. They're going to take an approved set of plans as we've set them, and the inspector has to inspect to those plans, not to what you intended, but what the plans say. So if they go to this, they're not going to relabel this for you.
Is there anything I can do today to have a caveat in there that, to go for an approval with this drawing getting the labels corrected on it?
Well, what we can do is we can apply a condition to the approval, and the condition will be relabeled drawings. As you say, the drawings are what you propose, but the labels are wrong, confusing.
That is what I'm requesting.
Does that,
I've got another issue with the drawings as well as Sue. Before we
Yes.
make any determination about what you just said, I would like to raise that one as well.
okay,
Item 1 on the drawings, the notes, all final materials are to be chosen by homeowner and/or builder. And the application says no change, so I'm not sure, A, what's there, and B, what's going in terms of here. I mean, the drawing, if I were to read this on site, I would sit there and say, well, anything that the owner wants would be, or the builder wants would be acceptable according to these drawings, unless I'm missing something here.
well, it says no change, and I believe you're going to
with
preserve the
existing-
shingles, you're going to, the color will be the same, so that's no change. There is a change, though, in the materials of the porch roof, and so that, I was hoping that we could see samples of that. And if you could tell us a little more about it. It's black or charcoal gray?
My understanding was a black metal roofing,
And we're interested in whether it's a standing seam roof or,
I don't know what that means, but
okay,
uh,
sufficient information here.
there are some specific questions that I can have addressed by the architect and perhaps a builder. I'm still getting quotes on, I'd be happy to supply those.
Okay. So Alex, going forward with this, could we include conditions that drawings will be corrected and that,
I'm not the one that says, but
Do you have a time frame? Is that the issue?
I'm getting estimates right now for the.
But you don't have a commitment from a builder to
Well, I
get
can't-
started tomorrow?
I couldn't do that until I got approval, so no, I haven't. I've got several builders out there working on it for me.
Architect of record consider coming here and explaining this, or did you gather that he would rather make the changes?
I am not, I don't know, like I said, this is my first time working with an architect or with the historic group, so I
didn't
really
do
Surprised
any-
he's not here, actually.
I didn't know he was supposed to be here with me. No one,
Well, it's not a supposed to. You're welcome to bring the architect, the builder, whichever you want. It's not something we dictate who has to be at the meeting. You just have to provide us with the necessary information. If that's from you, that's fine. If it's from the builder, that's fine. If it's from the architect, that's fine. But that's something that we can't dictate from this end. We're only here as a review board.
it's hard for me to get a builder until I know that what he is allowed to build.
Well, and I think we've indicated to you what our concerns are. We need to have those corrected drawings, first thing, and then we need to know a little bit more about the metal roof. So that's two items.
Molly, I would say about all the materials. This is, I would be willing to accept amendments to the drawings because I think it's just labeling, but the materials not being specified at all is more difficult.
Along with a statement that says I can change out any of them
Right.
that I want to
Right.
on the drawing.
Well, then, I think what we're looking at, and I think I need a motion on this, is that we will continue your application until our next meeting, the end of August.
I've got one quick question of Alex on that. Under the new application proceeding, does it allow us to do such things as adjourn for continuance?
Absolutely, as
Okay.
long as it's to a date, time that's specified within the public hearing. And just to regroup a little bit on that, so Ms. Manzo has a clarity, and staff can work with you in getting the corrected materials before that meeting. I think we need to have a clearer application prepared as far as the existing and proposed materials and where they're located on the proposed project. Also, I know the architect can easily change the labeling and the note that Commissioner Schroeder had mentioned, so we can get you locked in on what the proposed materials will be. So there's no gray area or anything's left in question. And if you could get a sample of the proposed metal roof. And to Commissioner Taylor's comment, if it were as simple as a correction on a piece of paper, we could get the applicant who is here before us to amend those, and we could all attest that she had changed those applications, and then staff would be okay with enforcing whatever decision the HPC made from that.
So I would like to have a motion that we continue this case until our August 22nd meeting.
I make a motion to continue this case with the approval of the applicant, if she so chooses, to adjourn this matter until the August 22nd meeting.
Second.
So we have a motion by Tom Schroeder and a second by John Taylor. All those in favor of the
Aye.
motion?
Aye.
Thank you. So we will continue to work on this.
And feel free to talk, as Alex said, to talk to staff. They can help you with some of this.
The next case is COA 19067 for a new garage at 25 Laurel Road. And Alex, do you want to present the findings of fact?
Yes, please. I would like to continue a little bit more on what you've added there. The public hearing is considered a request within the Pinehurst Historic District to remove a flat roof and install a replacement gable roof over a garage and screen porch at 25 Laurel Road. The property can be identified as Moore County Parcel ID number 0002431. The owner and applicant is Ernest Duncan, and I would like to enter the materials included within your packet into the record, including the application, site survey, existing floor plan, and the elevations and floor plan, as well as the existing photo and your draft findings of fact. We also have an updated, say, elevation showing the actual proposed change to the gable roof that's kind of connecting there in the middle of the house that has been given to staff and has now been distributed to all the HPC members.
Is Mr. Duncan here?
Good afternoon.
You may stand or sit, your choice. Going to stand? Okay. I have to swear you in. Do you affirm that the testimony you shall give to the commission is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Thank you. What do you have to tell us about the project? What do you have to add to?
Well, you see by the picture here, we added on a screen porch and a one-car garage. The house initially just had one garage out front, so we added one into the back, which connects to the now famous
Infamous.
alleyway behind our house, which the fence is still there, by the way. So it's leaking. I've had several contractors come and try to stop the leaks. It's leaking into the screen porch. It's leaking into the back garage. I can't even park my car in the back garage because it gets mold on it. So we had a contractor come in and say, let's just put a roof over it. That way the water's taken away from the garage area and the screen porch. So we would appreciate you guys approving our proposal.
Okay.
Question I have is, what happens to the stairs? They're going nowhere.
On to, everything's gone, the roof, it's going to be a gable roof to
Okay.
match the existing roof on the house.
Got it.
The stairs going up will be gone.
So you're giving up your roof deck.
We are.
Are you able to see the number 2 course from up there?
We actually can see parts of the number 1 green and number 2 tee box, and heard all the oohs and ahs during the opens. It was a good idea, but it just didn't work.
Any more questions of Mr. Duncan?
Yes. This is basically the existing, basically the same drawing as the picture that you have in here?
When you're showing me here now?
Yeah, that one.
Yes, that's the existing. Mhm.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that I understood. And then the elevation is going to this.
I think, is this the new sheet that we got, Tom?
Yeah.
I think that is the proposed, not that shows the gable roof
Right.
as opposed to the flat roof. It's the proposed, not the
Right.
existing.
No, the one that was on just before this one, on the other side of that piece of paper, this one that's got the yellow is what I was holding.
I'm sorry, yes.
That is existing. Yes. Okay, that was my question.
Any more discussion? I think we're ready to make a motion. Is anyone ready to do that? Yeah.
Right. Make the following motion. Upon due consideration of the application package submitted and the testimony given, that the Historic Preservation Commission follows, that the applicant has satisfied the burden of persuasion and the project as proposed, subject to any conditions that may be imposed by the commission, is congruous with the special character of the Pinehurst Historic District and consistent with the Pinehurst Historic District guidelines. The certificate of appropriateness is hereby granted for the reasons stated as follows. Section 3A1 of the guidelines directs that any changes to the configuration of an existing roof shall be compatible with the architectural style of the existing structure and must be congruous with the Pinehurst Historic District. Gabled roofs are compatible with the architectural style of the existing structure and are typical in the Pinehurst Historic District. Section 1.c of the guidelines directs that any replacement of roof materials be of the same style, size, and color. The applicant proposes to match pitch, style, and color. The changes in size from flat to gable is compatible with the structure and the district. Section 3A7 states that vents, including soffit vents and low-profile ridge vents, should be installed in a manner that does not diminish the original design of the roof or destroy the character of the roof details. The contractor indicates that soffit and ridge vents will be standard.
Thank you. We have a motion by Eric Von Salzen. Is there a second?
Second?
Jim McChesney seconded the motion. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carried. You have your COA.
Thank you very much.
Our next case is for the property at 310 Dundee Road. It is COA 19-065.
And the purpose of this public hearing is to consider a request within the Pinehurst Historic District to install a detached two-car garage to the rear of the principal dwelling at 310 Dundee Road with access from McFarland Road. The property can be identified as Moore County Parcel ID number 200070742. The owners are Margaret Elo and Peter Genthaler. The applicant is the previous, and I apologize. I would also like to enter other items that were included in the commissioner's packet into the record. The application, we have elevation and floor plans, proposed garage doors and examples, a site plan, as well as your draft findings of fact.
So would you like to come forward and tell us some more about the project? So, Peter Genthner?
Genthner,
Genthner. And?
Margaret Ello.
Ello. Welcome. Do you affirm that the testimony you shall give to the commission will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. So what more
You
can
have
you
another
tell?
microphone we can put up there?
We can share.
Okay, because it's being recorded, and that's why we needed to be able to access the
both said
microphone.
yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
So what can,
Yes.
what can you tell us about your new garage?
Well, good afternoon, first of all, and thank you for hearing us today. What we'd like to do is put a garage behind our house, which has frontage on Dundee Road as well as McFarland Road to the rear. And as you probably are aware, McFarland Road is a one-block-long road with a cul-de-sac end on it, so it's not a through street. We'd like to build a two-car garage with a small workshop that would be compatible and consistent with the materials that we have in on our current dwelling. I guess we're here for sort of preliminary approval because based on the feedback that we hear from you, may affect the orientation of the garage. And the plan may change based on the orientation of the garage, whether it's side loading or the garage door is facing McFarland. Do you have anything to add to that? The structure would be approximately 20 by 22.
It's 512 square feet.
The lot is almost 15,000 square feet. And Terry was over the other day, and it's a pretty big expanse back there that we'd like to kind of make more usable for us.
Well, and the truth, well, according to our guidelines, our new guidelines, is we recommend side entry or rear entry garages. So this is, no matter how you orient it, it will be within our recommendations, within the guidelines. I don't know anything about the necessity for a side entrance, or you said that you might not have it, the doors to McFarland?
We would like to have the doors face McFarland, but we didn't want to move forward with our plans because the location of the little workshop adjacent to the two-car garage may be on the other side of the building if it's a side loading versus a front loading to McFarland.
Basically, we're looking for your input so we know how we should proceed with the orientation of the garage.
Yeah, and having walked the property, for the rest of you who haven't seen it, the McFarland side is full of trees and shrubs right now, and the issue that these folks have is where do they get egress? And that's part of their concern is also how can they save as much of this shrubbery and the shielding as possible on McFarland, as well as then where do you place this garage on the property? It's extensive. And as Peter and I talked about it, he might not want to walk too far with the groceries. He might want to put it closer to the house. The deal is from Dundee, you can't see this structure. You
No,
will not be
no.
able to see this structure.
Either during the construction phase or the final, once it's constructed, you will
And
not
once-
see it from
Once
Dundee.
they get the egress, it'll also be shielded from McFarland. So, my particular position is, while we did talk about a courtyard or a side entry, that may not be appropriate when they finally figure out how to get to it.
So you're thinking of moving it closer to the house? I imagined it closer to McFarland.
The yard is so sizable that I'd like to make the yard in the back
More manageable.
more manageable, comparable to the yard size that we have in the front of the house.
Okay, well, the one thing that we cannot do is provide you answers to the question of where you want to put it. You propose to us, and then we evaluate what it is you're proposing. We're not in a position to tell you to put side, front, back, upside down, anything else that you may want to do. The plan is proposed, we look at the plan that's proposed, and then we evaluate based on that. Anything short of that would be playing a game of, well, if, and we are not allowed to make judgments on if questions. So
On the other hand, we can tell you what the guidelines require and what they recommend.
That's correct.
And rear-facing garages and side-facing garages are recommended.
And just to be clear, when we say rear-facing, we mean doors would not be visible on McFarland. You'd have to
Oh,
go out.
no, rear-facing to the lot, rear of the lot.
Okay, that's what I wanted to be.
And many of our properties in the historic district have alleys. And so a rear-facing garage to the alley is preferred, is recommended, strongly recommended.
And I would also like to add that with the draft findings of fact within your guys' packet, which to me indicates the preference of the applicant and the property owners to have the garage facing the rear, the doors facing the rear to McFarland, under the first page, under accessory features and structures, item number 5 does read, the garage is proposed to face the rear of the lot towards McFarland Road.
So we're in agreement that the doors face McFarland Road, correct?
Yes.
That's what you
It's
proposed,
in-
right?
It's in agreement with the guidelines, very much in agreement with the guidelines.
And that's what you proposed?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
that's what I needed to know, is what you
But
proposed.
I think what you hear you say is you might not locate it where it is shown here. You might move the garage toward the house.
I think we have a pretty close approximation of where it is. I would,
Well, we need to have a survey done and locate it specifically on the property, but we do want it to be closer to the house rather than to McFarland.
I would say it would almost be equidistant between the back of the house and McFarland.
Which is not quite what is just me eyeballing it. It looks like it's closer to McFarland now on the drawing we have.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've got a question, and can you bring up this drawing? I'm sorry. The drawing that looks like that. I have a question about it. I'm going to get in on the screen, then I'll ask the question. I don't, you don't have the same package we do, is that correct? There's the drawing right there. Okay, if you see down close to the bottom of the screen, that's the garage, right, with the proposed, where it says proposed garage?
Yes.
Okay, there's a yellow block in there, and then there's sketched around that another, what could be called a structure or something. I'm not sure what the extra black lines are on there. If the structure is the yellow, I interpret as the yellow highlighted piece being the structure. I don't know what the other is.
Okay, the yellow, this is a survey that was done by the people from whom we purchased the house.
Okay.
When they subdivided their land into 2 lots. And the yellow was the house that they built, and they had proposed to put a garage in. It was never built. So we were originally thinking, oh, we would put it exactly where they proposed to put it. But as we go back and look at the land from McFarland, there are some mature trees right there. So it doesn't really make sense to enter on that side. It makes sense to enter towards the northwest, which is to the right on this map.
This isn't your drawing.
No,
It's
it's
a
not.
survey,
Okay.
an old survey.
I interpreted, Tom, the black, and I may be wrong, would be if you had to make it side loading, you'd take the existing yellow and rotate it 90 degrees. That was my guess.
That's my question. I don't know which it is, whether it's mine or your interpretation. It could be either one. So I guess that's my question is,
I think you're accurate. That's what it is. Whether it would be side loading or front loading.
Or rear loading.
Yeah.
okay, so you show it on this map then as both ways?
It's shown on this map as both ways.
Okay.
But your preference,
Our preference is that it be rear loading.
okay.
Would be the yellow one or the black line?
Yellow.
The yellow one, okay.
So you'd be entering the overhead doors from McFarland.
Correct.
Yes.
And I noticed the same thing about the shrubbery when I drove down McFarland. So you're suspecting that you would shift this to the right,
To the right, yes.
maybe back a little bit, maybe not.
Within the
Correct.
setbacks allowed.
Well, and of course, we also recommend taking out as few trees as possible because we're, part of the historic character of Pinehurst is landscape and the tree canopy. And so, we would recommend saving as many of those as you can.
Yeah, we agree. And when we were talking with Terry yesterday, also, we pointed out that there are fewer trees if that garage is, fewer trees impacted if the garage is shifted to the right. It's more shrubbery, low shrubbery there.
Okay, so
It's
no
kind of-
trees impacted because we'd be interested in that.
I think, yes, there will be trees.
There will have to be
impacted.
something impacted, yeah.
How big are those trees?
Pretty solid.
I would say the largest tree that would be impacted might be 8-inch diameter, caliber tree, which would not be a pine tree. It would be one of the willow oaks or something like that. It's also kind of wild looking behind. What we'd like to do is clean it up and have the pine straw and just have a neater look back there than currently exists.
Alex, if they decide to remove a tree, will they need to get staff approval and an additional COA for that?
It depends on the size and the location. So if it's greater than 12 inches diameter breast height, then it would potentially need a COA, which can be issued by staff. That is, if it is along street front property, which most likely would be the case along McFarland Road. However, if a proposed location with an approved COA for a new structure, it's kind of case in point, that if there's an impact on a tree that's got to be removed, it's It's implied.
Okay, so we're approving that.
And it sounds like without a further inspection of the site, that some of those trees there, if the largest one is 8 inches diameter breast height, then wouldn't apply to the current guidelines anyway.
Okay.
All right, I've got a question of Alex, too. If this were to move slightly, and I just want to get this on the record, I think, if this isn't the exact location it's going to end up, it still has to meet planning requirements as far as setbacks and all of that. So it would have to be within the zoning setback requirements and so on for that. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so
I think that's shown on the map.
Speaking for myself, from a historic preservation standpoint, I'm not sure, I don't see that it makes any difference exactly where within the parameters that the applicants have stated this garage is located.
Right.
I would be therefore prepared to support the application, even though it's not as detailed as ideal.
And if I may offer a friendly amendment to that, subject to it meeting the setbacks and so forth when the final siting is determined. Right.
So that would be a condition?
Well, it would necessarily have to be, because no matter the case or the outcome of the HPC, they would have to meet the development ordinance with relative setbacks, impervious surface, et cetera.
So we don't have to specify that? That's
It would be a little
not in our
redundant.
purview?
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree with that.
Any more discussion?
I have one question.
Sure.
There's a picture of a Dutch door in our application, and
Yes.
I wondered what that was about.
As you'll notice on the layout of the drawing of the garage itself, there's a small workshop to the side. That is for me. And I would like to have a Dutch door on that workshop.
Very pretty door.
Thank you.
Very pretty garage.
Good idea.
All right. Are we ready for a motion? Jim, thank you.
I'll take it.
I've got one more question I just saw before you jump in there. On the materials and colors, the roof material says shingle, charcoal, but then there's an asterisk by it that says consider metal roof option. Are we putting in shingles or metal roof?
We're planning to put in charcoal-colored shingles. Somebody said to us that maybe you would prefer that it be a metal roof, in which case we would put in a metal roof, but we would just match our existing house, which is
So on the official
charcoal.
record, with your permission, can we scratch the consider metal roof? If
Yes.
that's your intent? I'm not
Yes.
trying to put words in your mouth.
That is my intent.
And before a motion may be made here, I just want to clarify one of the points on your draft findings of fact. It does state that the materials are proposed to match the materials of the existing structure with the exception of the roof. So what is the existing house roof now?
It's charcoal shingle.
Okay, so if someone were to make a motion and that were to be one of your findings of fact you would like to enter with your motion, that would need to be amended as shown on your draft findings of fact, that it will match the existing house.
Oh, I see, the wording, the proposed wording is that it will not, but with what we just talked about, it now will.
From the applicant, yes.
The testimony of that, okay. Almost confused. Thank you. Go ahead, Jim. I'm ready.
Upon due consideration of the application package submitted and the testimony given, the Historic Preservation Commission concludes the following. Excuse me. That the applicant has satisfied the burden of persuasion and the project as proposed, subject to and conditions imposed by the commission, is congruous with the special character of the Pinehurst Historic District and consistent with historic preservation guidelines. A certificate of appropriateness is hereby granted for the reasons stated above. Section 4E1 requires all proposed site features and accessory buildings, including garages and other buildings, as well as other structures such as gazebos, patios, arbors, pergolas, must be compatible with features of the primary structure and must be congruous with other accessory structures in the Pinehurst Historic District. The applicant proposes to build an accessory building of compatible materials. Rear garages are typical in the district. Section 4E2 directs the accessory buildings must be equal or lower in height than the primary structure, and the roof should have an equal or lower slope than the primary structure, which is satisfied as the garage in a one-story structure and the principal dwelling is 2 stories. Section 4E4 states attached garages should not be prominent on the street-facing elevation and should be set behind the front facade of the primary structure. Every effort should be made to position garages so that garage doors open to the rear or side of the dwelling. The doors will open to the rear towards McFarland Road, and the building is to the rear of the primary structure. The applicant states that the building will be screened by heavy vegetation on that side.
Really comfortable with the rear facing that he just talked about?
Yes,
You are
that is our
Meaning
preference.
facing the overhead doors to McFarland.
facing McFarland.
Correct.
Okay.
Makes sense.
I second that.
So we have a motion by Jim McChesney and
I
a
second
second
it.
by Tom Schroeder. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
You're very welcome.
The next case is COA 19-064, a request for additional fencing on Ritter Road.
Okay, this public hearing is consider a request within the Pinehurst Historic District to install additional fencing at 15 Ritter Road West. The property can be identified as Moore County Parcel ID number 000024433. The property is owned by Hugh and Rebecca Foley Tudor. Would like to, at this point, enter other items that were included in the commissioner's packet into the record, including the application, the sketch plan for the proposed fence, existing photos of the site conditions, and your draft findings of fact.
Are the property owners here? Why don't you come forward and be sworn in? Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give to the commission is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you very much.
I've got an administrative question for Alex before we go into the actual facts. Question, why does this application look different than any of the other of them we have?
Why does it what? I'm sorry?
That doesn't look like, the application does not look like anything that we've previously seen, and that's, my question is the information, and I did not go over this because I didn't see the other document, is all of the information in this application equivalent to the COA application that we normally use?
It should be in addition to.
But we have the new format here.
We
That's
have,
included.
for the motion, but my only question is if you go back to the last one, it's a COA application, it's an application for approval. My question is,
Well, Alex can answer that.
It should be the last 3 pages there included within the fence application packet as well.
Because what you're looking at is the standard fence approval, which is usually a staff approval, Tom. But in this case, because it's a little complicated,
Oh, we have
3 streets around us.
Exactly. It's a little complicated, and so instead of a staff approval, it has come to public hearing.
Okay,
So
right.
so the difference that you're talking about is the difference in an application to staff for an approval.
Okay, but that still doesn't answer my question. My question is, we have a COA form that we use for applications to this board.
And
Is-
it should be included within your packet. If it's what we have on the screen and what I have with mine, it was included with the fence, wall, and column
It
application.
is not, I do not have that. If you could slide that up just slightly. No, I do not have anything that looks like that. That's why I'm asking the question.
And the old application form is included with this application simply because of the timing of when the applicants submitted this. They have been working back and forth with staff for quite a number of weeks because of the complexity of what is typically a minor work item. So it may just be an administrative oversight if it's not included within your packet, but we do have it, and it is on the screen in front, and I know I have it included within mine behind the fence, wall, and column application, which is also a requirement for any fence within our jurisdiction.
Okay.
So it
I
will
now
be,
have it.
it will
Thank you.
be in the record.
I have it. He
Okay.
just
So we're
provided me a
good.
copy of it. Thank you.
So let's talk about the project.
Okay. We, first let me say that we chose Pinehurst to retire.
Excuse me, Molly, did you swear them in?
Yes,
Yes.
all right. Because of the character and charm, we're not even big golfers, so that wasn't our reason. It was one of the first places we went, and we both said, this is it. So we don't want to do anything that might disrupt the very thing we're here because of. I'm not proposing to change anything about the look of the house and the property. But because we are on Beulah Hill Road, and we all know about that traffic, we did not feel that a wireless fence for dogs or children would be appropriate because the fence that's there is about that high.
18 inches.
Yeah, and which is not suitable for keeping dogs or children from running in the road. What we came up with was to retain what's there, because, I mean, we bought the house because we loved the look, but to build inside that fence a black, so it would totally disappear, hopefully, fence in the rear of the property, as you can see on your diagram, and then connecting back to the sides of the house. But only the rear is where we're planning on doing this, and just setting it inside the current fence, with the addition of the back property line, which, if anybody's been there and looked, or pictures, is heavily trees and brush and things, so it would disappear at there. And regarding cutting anything, we would not cut a tree. We may have to clear a little brush to get the fence in there, but only to allow it to grow back, to continue to.
That would be the post and rail fences.
Yes. Black with the black wire.
That would go
It would go,
sides and back, but
And back.
not front.
right, not coming to the front. It would come to
Yeah,
the sides of, the side of the garage on the left and the side of the sunroom on the right.
And I assume that the post and rail fence will be on your side of the vegetation. So
Absolutely.
it will be absolutely screened from the
Yes.
adjacent properties.
Yes.
I have a suggestion. There's a post and rail fence on Cherokee Road, just down from the roast office.
Okay.
And if you take a look at that, that is not black, it's a dark brown. Take a look.
Okay, all right. Whatever's going to blend and disappear the most is what we would want. And here's our puppy that we,
I knew
Have
there
to
was,
keep
I
safe.
knew there was a dog.
he's just 5 weeks old here.
No dog
Protect-
pictures to sway the
protect them.
committee here.
Do you happen to know the kind of material that post and rail would be made of?
I know it will be kill-dried, pressure-treated.
Sometimes that doesn't always take paint well,
Well,
longevity-wise.
I understand. The stain that, I've discussed this with Benjamin Moore, and it's a stain that's black, but will not be totally black because it's a stain, but it's made for kiln-dried, pressure-treated wood.
And do I read the written comment here that you're not proposing item 1, that you sent an email in to kind of take that off, so we're really looking at option 2? That's your preference for what you'd like to put in?
I don't have that in front of me, and I can't remember.
I think it
And she
was
can-
your
she-
preference.
She,
I think 1
Option
is
one
my
is
preference.
your preference.
Yes.
That
oh,
up on the
and
screen?
Let's put
that
that
up on the screen, so we're all talking the same thing.
What I do want to add is that where the fence line would come back and connect to the house, I would like for that to be a aluminum black stake fence, so my gates,
Corner.
yeah, would look nicer. I mean, because I don't need that heavy look at the front of the house.
As we passed by the wrought iron diagram here.
There we are.
Yes.
Right there.
So it says
Let's
per
come
email,
back to
no.
Yes.
So was option 1 has been taken off from consideration?
Oh, that is the
It
consideration.
is the primary.
Well, then let's clarify it this way.
What does the word no mean?
Well, let's clarify it this way. There are 3 options listed up there, 1, 2, and 3. 3 is off the bottom of the page. Which option are you looking at doing, irrespective of any notes
I
that may be on
understand.
there?
No, it's 1.
Okay.
Metal fence for sides D and E.
Okay,
So the sides connecting to the house.
okay, so you're opting for option 1, and
Yes.
it would be fair to cross out 2 and 3 then on this application, is that correct?
Give me 1, I'll be very happy, and I'll cross out anything else.
You need to tell us what it is, which one you want, that's
I
why.
want one.
Okay,
That simplifies things.
Well,
Yes.
that maintains the existing fence.
Yes, absolutely.
so the per email no can go away as well, in the marks.
Oh, getting back to the look of the wrought iron fence, will it be the kind of swag, or is it going to be straight across?
No, it'll be straight across.
Okay.
It's going to be what they call a puppy fence, which means that the bottom of it, there's a bar, and they double the stakes at the bottom, that many.
I see.
that much.
Good. Good.
So that-
Can't wiggle through there.
And you'll have gates, but the gates will be very like the look of the fence.
Exactly.
Great.
I think they've seen the puppy. His name is Ditto.
What is the dog's name?
Ditto,
Ditto, okay.
because he looks just like our original dog, so he's,
How old is the dog?
that picture is 5 weeks. He'll be 6 weeks Monday.
What's the breed?
He's a cross between a corgi and a terrier. So, but he's just adorable.
Okay. Any more discussion on the project? Anything more to add? No? Anybody ready to make a motion?
I can do that.
Gary?
Under due consideration of the application package submitted and the testimony given, the Historic Preservation Commission concludes the following: that the applicant has satisfied the burden of persuasion and the project as proposed, subject to any conditions imposed by the commission, is congruous with the special character of the Pinehurst Historic District and consistent with historic preservation guidelines. A certificate of appropriateness is hereby granted for the reasons stated on the attached page. Bear with me. Section 7A.5 requires painting, staining, or other finish must be completed within 6 months of installation. Section 7A.11 directs when measuring fence dimensions, consider all fence elements, including posts. Front yard fences must not be taller than 3.5 feet. Side yard fences must not be taller than 4 feet in height, and rear yard fences must not be taller than 6. The applicant proposes the fence height to be 4 feet. As none of the proposed fence addition extends beyond the front line of the house, 4 feet is consistent with the allowed height. It should be a condition of approval that if approved, the fence shall be painted within 6 months. I guess that's really important why we say it twice. Section 7A3 directs residential street side fences should be wood picket, brick or wrought iron, or metal aluminum that resembles wrought iron. White wood picket fences are the preferred residential street-facing fence type. The proposed black post and rail fence with wire will be taller than the 18-inch fence along the street side on 2 sides and will constitute a double fence. It is not consistent with the recommendation for white picket fences. The proposed black post and rail fencing can be located within the vegetated buffer to improve visual appearance. The guidelines are silent on the use of double fences, and double fences would need to be evaluated in the context of the congruity within the district.
Have a motion from Terry Lurtz and a second
Second?
from Jim McChesney.
Just a quick question before we vote. If the sides in the rear, or side C is currently unfenced, and they're not doing, you are or not doing this across the front fence,
No,
does this constitute a double fence?
only on the sides.
On the
It is on the
sides-
side, okay.
On the sides, yeah.
Thank you.
And it'll be
Item J.
located behind the existing white fence.
But it's also covered by vegetation from the street, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And I'm glad you moved to Pinehurst.
We are too. Thank you so much.
Beautiful property.
Okay, we are going to take, it's 5 o'clock, so we're going to take just a quick break. 5, 10 minutes?
5.
Okay, okay. Get it going. I was about to say. Calling the meeting to order after our brief recess. The next case is COA 19-068, landscaping and fencing of the new Pinehurst Elementary School on Dundee Road. Alex?
Thank you. And again, COA 19-068 is a public hearing to consider a request within the Pinehurst Historic District to install landscaping and fencing at the new Pinehurst Elementary School, which will be following the demolition of the current school at 100 Dundee Road, adjacent to the intersection with Kelly Road in Pinehurst, North Carolina. The property can be further identified by Moore County Parcel ID number 20110260. The property is owned by Moore County Board of Education, and the applicant is Brent Covington with Ratio Design. I would like to enter a few items into the record that were included within the commissioner's packet. That would be the existing conditions and demolition plan, which can help frame the trees that are to be removed with the construction of the new elementary school, which was did have a COA issued by the Historic Preservation Commission, as well as a major site plan approved by Village Council, with a very important condition before this application and this board, that the landscaping be provided with a 25% increase than what is currently allowed within the Pinehurst Development Ordinance. So what you guys will see with the attached, also made matter of record landscape plan or planting plan is inclusive of that condition that was placed by Village Council. So the planting is above and beyond the current regulations within the Pinehurst Development Ordinance relative to the planting buffer along the adjacent properties, adjacent residential properties there along the south and east side there, as is oriented on the screen and in the form. Also included within the record are details of the cupola that they propose to restore, as well as the pavement and signage plan. I would also like to indicate that the signage that is proposed with this project is exempt from having a development permit within the Village of Pinehurst through the development ordinance, as they are incidental signs, and they are mainly of a size less than, I believe it is 2 or 2.5 square feet in dimensions, as well as they are part of a government organization to carry out their official duties as a school. And I know there's a lot of detail here, but I don't want to forget anything. Also, again, included with this request is a 4-foot black aluminum fence, which is proposed to be around the stormwater retention area there. That does not meet the current guidelines of height in the front yard of 3.5 feet. Another reason why that is before this commission. You'll also see the grading plan, which can kind of frame out that stormwater area a little bit better for you guys. And I know some of this is very familiar, that you guys have seen before, but just wanted to make sure it's made matter of record. And finally, I will add the draft findings of fact into the record for you guys.
Thank you, Alex. Just to swear you in, do you affirm that the testimony you shall give to the commission will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And you're Mr. Cunningham?
Covington, yes. Brent
Covington,
And,
excuse me.
Lisa-
Welcome back.
Lisa, would you like to introduce
I'm
yourself?
Lisa Estridge. I'm the leader of the Landscape Architecture Studio at Ratio Design.
So is she testifying as well?
She is too, yes.
So we need to,
So let's swear you in as well. Do you affirm that the testimony you shall give to the commission shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
So, talk to us about the landscape and the fence.
If you don't mind, I'm going to let Lisa speak to that as authoritative voice.
okay?
I get the fun role because plants. I'll just start off by saying that one of the guiding principles to the overall site design when we started this project was wanting to keep and preserve as many of the large existing trees that are along both Dundee and Kelly Road. So those were kind of a primary principle for why the building was located where it was and how circulation worked, was we wanted to try to save as many existing trees as possible. So looking along those two street frontages, I know there's a lot of detail on this. We actually brought some full-size plans if you'd like to, if you need to, see it at a larger scale just to see as many things as are going on here. But If I zoom in, we are preserving a significant amount of those large existing trees, and those are symbolized by a full kind of hatched circle, then with a larger circle around that. So we've preserved those both within the buffer and along the right-of-way, and then we're including supplemental buffer plantings that meet and exceed the requirements for buffer as well as for screening of both the parking area and the loading area. We are also providing a significant number of pine trees, which is also part of that requirement. So making sure that we are planting in keeping with the character of, the pines within the ecosystem that we are within. Around the south and the east portion of the property, where we are adjacent to private residences, we have a very thick buffer that it's not only 25% above the requirement. I believe the last calculation, we were about 30% above the number of required plantings. So we have provided a very substantial buffer for those residents. And those are all shrubs that have been selected not only from the village's planting guide, but that have also been selected for their specific microclimate. In some of them will be within the shade of existing trees. So, very intently selected so that they'll be successful and they'll grow to the maturity that they're intended to be.
About how high will that buffer be? I mean, when it's fully grown?
Well, it varies because the species vary, but it's typically at least between 6 to 8 feet and then 10 to 12. There are some understory trees, understory trees that will get larger than that, but we also wanted to have kind of a layered landscape too, so that there isn't kind of a hedge around everything. Wanted to make it look a little bit natural, also wanting to have a seasonal interest also, so that the plant material is providing some kind of excitement, throughout the year. So the building itself, we've provided foundation plantings around the entire perimeter of the building, and those are a mix of both dwarf varieties of shrubs and some ornamental grasses. And then we have somewhat of a feature area at the front entry, which we are calling the entry garden, and that was in keeping with the existing garden that they have now. That's a really significant space for the elementary school, so we wanted to give them that space again. So we have a mix of shrubs and perennials, and I will say within our contract drawings, the school has the option of whether they are going to plant that garden themselves or whether we plant that garden. So we have created a design of the plant materials that we think they would like in that space. They may actually install it themselves, kind of separate than this, make that a community event for the school.
But either way, it'd be planted.
Either way, it will be planted. And then center to that is the reclaimed cupola, right in the center there, that we're creating a new pedestal for. It'll be the center point to that new entry garden. Looking at the fencing is in two different locations, both around the stormwater pond, and that is a matter of safety in wanting to have that fence there. We've got 2 access gates for maintenance, and then we also have fencing along the east property line and the south property line in order to kind of, corral the kids within that multi-purpose field so that we're not worried about, balls and other things meandering into neighbors' yards. That fence will mostly be within the buffer planting, so it may disappear after a while because you're going to have a pretty thick planting along those edges. That fence is shown here. That is a ornamental aluminum fence. It will have it's a manufacturer process, but it's a powder coat finish. It'll be a black finish. It will have a top rail, a mid rail, and a bottom rail, as you see in the picture. And then it will have a couple of access gates for maintenance by the school. Any questions?
Yes, is there any discussion, any questions?
Alex brought up an issue about a fence that was higher than it was allowed to be by the code. Which one is that, just to make sure I am?
Well, the 4-foot fence around the retention pond, and that's because it's water, and that's mandated but for safety reasons.
I'm not arguing, I just wanted to make sure I understood which,
And that's the same, as I recall, that's the same height you need for a pool fence.
Correct.
right.
So
Yeah,
it
I
is,
have no
it is
issue.
what it
I
is.
just wanted to make sure I understood which one it was.
Sound drawing C100.
Yeah.
And not to be redundant, but it is because it is forward-facing of the school building, the front facade. So technically, it is a front yard fence, and the guidelines say that they must not be taller than 3.5 feet. So it's just the portion that is beyond that front facade of that
Right.
building.
But I understand why it's there, because the safety concern overrides that extra half a foot, if you will, of doing that. And we authorized building it there, I guess we got to make it safe.
Just one item of curiosity, did I notice that you're planning on planting some new American elms?
Correct. But
As
it's a
part
high.
of the
Yep.
I'm
I'm glad you noticed that. It's a hybrid elm that are disease resistant. There are a lot of really nice hybrids that have been created that are strains of the American elm that now can resist Dutch elm disease. We plant them all the time.
Just out of curiosity, how large are the ones that you're planting? I know they can grow to be tremendous, but
Well, they'll grow to be 75, 100 feet. When they go in the ground, you can put them in as large as you are willing to pay for.
well, I won't see them that tall in my lifetime.
Yeah, right. Unless you want to contribute, and we can put in some large caliper trees.
Well, that's a good question. So the deciduous trees and what I'm going to say are major trees that you put in, how big diameter will those be?
They are typically, I believe, at least a 3-inch caliper tree.
That's correct, and that's what's
Our
required by
3-inch
the development ordinance.
Yep, they're 3-inch caliper minimum tree.
Okay. Well, I spent a lot of time on Dundee Road with the demolition plan and the proposed plan, and I salute you for maintaining a lot of the sizable trees, those 2 beautiful magnolias, and they have to struggle because of what the power company contours.
Yeah.
But also the corner, which you've kept green, the corner of Kelly and Dundee and along Kelly. And you've just done a pretty good job with that, so thank you. Thank you.
We're the advocates for the trees.
I mean, it's sad to see how many trees you have to take out, and that's just a function of the different footprint of the new versus what was there. But out of curiosity, will there be more or fewer trees, if you will?
We are putting back more trees than we are taking out. And also preserving, as many as we are.
I'm a big fan of trees too, but trees do grow back. If you put the right things back in there, they will grow back.
But there are some really sizable trees, and we're going to miss them.
Well, and it was
We're gonna
very
miss
clear
it.
that the specimen trees, the kind of heritage trees that are as large as they are, were the ones that are along the perimeter. And that was a balance of losing some of the smaller, not as significant trees in the interior.
It may just be that on the existing, they're indicated in sort of boldface, and they stand out a little bit more than the new ones do on the proposed, but it looks like you're going in and clear cutting the site.
And it is for legibility, yeah.
Any more questions, discussion? I should ask if there are any comments from attendees? No? I guess we're ready for a motion.
I will attempt it here.
Okay, and I think the motion will it'll include both the fencing portion and the landscape portion, so you've got two portions
Yes.
there. Okay.
Upon due consideration of the application package submitted and the testimony given, the Historic Preservation Commission concludes the following: that the applicant has satisfied the burden of persuasion and the project as proposed, subject to any conditions imposed by the commission, is congruous with the special character of the Pinehurst Historic District and consistent with the Pinehurst Historic District guidelines. A certificate of appropriateness is hereby granted for the reasons stated on the attached page. The Village of Pinehurst traditionally considers streetscapes as a community asset, one that provides open views and vistas and creates a natural setting. Front yard fences are not recommended, but if fencing is desired, the resulting fence must be compatible in style, material, decorative elements, and features such as gates, pillars, and hardware with the character of the Pinehurst Historic District. The applicant proposes a metal fence that would be consistent with the style and materials of fences in the district. Front yard fences must not be taller than 3.5 feet in height. Side yard fences must not be taller than 4 feet in height, and rear yard fences must not be taller than 6 feet in height. The fence is proposed to surround a stormwater retention feature and is a safety and decorative feature. It is separated from the property line by the 20-foot buffer and setback, although it is in the front of the building. It exceeds the allowable height of the front yard fence by 1/2 foot. Metal fences should be painted to resemble wrought iron. The applicant submitted that a 4-foot-high metal fence will be used, but did not indicate paint colors in the submittal. Additions or alterations to the existing landscape, including plant material, hardscape, and accessory structures, must be compatible with the architectural character of the primary structure and congruous with the Pinehurst Historic District. The applicant proposes extensive replanting to supplement trees to be preserved. Plantings include species typical to the area and incorporates deciduous and evergreen species, including native species, ornamentals, and grasses. The species vary in height and placement from ground cover to understory and canopy. Removal of trees 12 inches in diameter at breast height and larger must not unreasonably compromise the existing tree canopy and the historic appearance of the landscape. Based on the size of the site and extent of site modifications to accommodate a new school, the existing canopy will be impacted. The applicant is compensated with supplemental plantings along the perimeter, island trees in the parking lot, shrubs and ornamentals along the walkways and buildings, and foundation plantings. Landscaping that contributes to the character of the Pinehurst Historic District should be retained and preserved as much as possible. Specific landscape features that are character-defining elements of the Pinehurst Historic District, including large trees, hedges, foundation plantings, grassy lawns, ground cover, trellises, patios, terraces, fountains, and gardens, should be retained and preserved as much as possible. Trees and shrubbery characteristic of the Pinehurst Historic District and native to the Pinehurst area should be preserved if possible. Existing large trees and other significant landscape elements should be incorporated into plans for additions and new construction. Large trees have been preserved and the cupola will be restored and reused as a site ornamental feature. New construction should minimize the impact on existing mature trees and their root systems, both on and adjacent to the construction site, including additions, driveways, and accessory buildings. The applicant proposes to retain many 12-inch in diameter or greater trees, and tree fencing is proposed to protect the trees to be preserved.
We have a motion from John Taylor. Is there a second? Second. Eric Von Saltzen seconded the motion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, folks.
Can't wait to see it.
Thank you.
When's demolition start? When do they start tearing it down? Curiosity, do you know?
The notice to proceed currently, the bid day is going to be next Thursday. We're going through the bidding process. We'll get our last addendum tomorrow. The notice to proceed would be September 18th. About phasing specifically with the low bidder that was selected.
Okay. I just thank you for that information.
Next, excuse me.
That would be something that'd be submitted by the apparent low bidder when they issue us their construction.
Okay. One more item of business. Any comment on the minor works that were approved by staff in the last month?
I have no
Okay.
comment.
Comment?
Okay. And so what I need is a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Terry Lertz made the motion, and Eric Von Salzen seconded the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
We're adjourned.
Okay.